can play the game while you listen.
What's going on here?
This ragtag crew of adventurers is covering the problems of the average player.
Where should I begin?
Discussing the home brews, modules, and the latest content for all things D&D.
What in God's holy name are you blathering about?
It's Chef Bolgg and the Pirate Captain's recipes for everything.
What you're feeling is so normal and perfectly natural.
With your host, the Pirate Captain.
Everybody loves me, and I don't know why. I'm an asshole. I really am. The Pirate Captain is a dick.
Chef Bolgg.
Let me take a couple steps back so I can, really get this point across.
It's bullshit!
And Loke the Bard.
Instead of making a deal with Cthulhu or, the greater devil, you found an imp who was willing to give you dark vision in exchange for a gallon of blood.
With a little mayhem, mischief, and a bit of bardic charisma, it's time for the show.
Yarr! Oh man, that's hot. That's coming in hot, boys. New sound. I'm excited about it. You got to hold on. I'm working on it. All right.
I've got things to say.
I know you got things to say, but I'm trying to listen to the music. It's a new intro. It's got us all sounding very popular. Professional. That's the word I was looking for. It is the Chef Bolgg and the Pirate Captain's recipes for everything. I am your host, the titular Pirate Captain. As always. No, that's you. You can be poopy. I'm not poopy. I'm titular.
No. Boobular.
Oh, boobular. Yeah. Boobs. As always, with me, my best boob-infested friend, Bolgg.
Several boobs.
And Loke.
Boob examiner.
Boob examiner. Man, we might as well just throw this whole episode out. That's probably what's going to happen. Nah. And then we actually have our friend back, Felix Fizzlebang.
Hello, guys. How are you?
Welcome back, my friend. This
He's
is...
so tiny.
He
So
is.
tiny. I have to jump every time.
Get him out of your mouth. This is the last time I'm telling you. You cannot
There's so
eat
many
him.
boobs in here.
I mean, yeah. They're nice, though. I've been playing with them since I got them a few episodes back. These are amazing. I don't know why we're still stuck in the isekai, though. You guys went back to being normal, and here I am still playing with my third boob.
Why do they grow back after I rip them off, too?
I don't know. Would you quit doing that? That hurts. Welcome to Chef Bolgg and the Pirate Captain's recipes for everything. Like I said, this is who we are. This is a D&D podcast. We have updated the sound. We are still the same ragtag group of adventurers, which means you can always go find us over at Facebook at Chef Bolgg and the Pirate Captain's recipes for everything. You can email us, bolgandpc@gmail.com. With all that being said, anything else you guys have before we get anything more about my boobs?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. Yeah, it's getting a little awkward, but...
It's also cold in here. I can see that because of your boobs.
Well, I mean...
Okay, I'm
a lot of radio equipment in here. It's got to stay cold.
I'm done now.
Okay. Are you sure?
No.
Okay.
No.
A question for you guys, and this was the hot topic brought up by us, actually our very favorite Loke the Bard. He's the one who brought this topic to our thing, and I think it's a good topic. What is the most hated D&D class out there?
Ranger.
Wow. Actually, you'd be surprised. And we've actually got a few charts. They're not...
Pre-Tasha's Ranger, maybe.
I wouldn't even...
Post-Tasha, I think the monk falls under the...
No.
The one that gets the most hate on the internet.
I mean, yeah, getting the most hate, that is true. But here's the thing, though. Even Tasha's was out, 2020?
Something like that.
Yeah, so if you have Tasha's out at 2020... the new Ranger's been out long enough that it's kind of got... I don't know, but there are an equal number of actually, the Monk beats the Ranger, actually, right now. 6% of all players play the Monk. So...
Yeah.
And I like monks.
Yeah, based on what players play...
Yeah, so I like...
The least popular one, does that make it the most hated if it's the least popular?
I would say so, because
I think there's a difference between hated and popularity.
No, you don't hate the popular. You don't hate the popular kids. You envy the popular kids.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not. That's what I'm saying. Like, if I had to pick popular, I would say Wizard would be the most popular. Like, if I was making my popularity list right now, I would honestly say the Wizard.
Float.
Because of Gandalf.
I can fly.
It's not because of that. I think it's because of Gandalf.
I don't know. If you check a lot of the surveys, the wizards tend to be pretty low.
Yeah.
Because there's a large learning curve.
Not really. I wouldn't say there's a large. It's very easy to play a wizard.
It has a lot less flexibility in different class. And if you talk about let me rephrase that. It has a lot of flexibility, and it has a lot less that you get from the class itself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're a lot more dependent on the spells you can play and the the only abilities that they have. They get like 3 abilities per
Right,
class.
but that's the thing. As a wizard, though, you're more focused. It teaches you how to focus. So if you're somebody with ADHD, probably not your thing. But
I
if
have
you
no idea what you're talking about.
exactly, so if when you're sitting there trying to exactly. If you're trying to focus on something, like I think the wizard's great. I think if I had to pick the most popular classes, I would probably go wizard, rogue, barbarian, maybe ranger. Ranger fighter, because a lot of people know the ranger as Aragorn. So
that's the thing. Prior to 5e, the ranger was probably one of the most popular classes, and
then Beastmaster came around.
Yeah, and then they kind of screwed it up in 5e, and it took many years before they put out good rangers. The Gloomstalker's not too bad, and the new ones in Tasha's are not too bad, but the original core ones were all terrible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, most people play that. So the Reddit post that I'm looking at right now that has like all the D&D Beyonds, and this post goes back just a couple years. It's as for Ranger, the Gloomstalker is mentioned in there. It's actually the number 2 most played Ranger, but the Hunter, which I would honestly play, I like the Hunter Ranger a little bit more than I would honestly even like the Beastmaster or the Gloomstalker, because it's that specified thing. You are good at one thing. You're kind of like a vampire hunter. You're playing like a Van Helsing style character, and I like that.
Now, when we talk about different classes and things, are we talking more like story based, or are we talking more like a dungeon crawl kind of thing? Because if you look at that story based and adventuring through the woods, that ranger is key. Like if you have to travel and you have to survive, that is key. If you do a role-played based game, that's perfect.
But I think they're also really good in dungeons too. They're not as good as rogues when it comes to like finding things, but they're very good for survivability even in dungeons. Because if they have the stuff to make good berries are very useful.
Yeah, but then you go over to druid, and druids are better that way anyhow.
But only 5%. I mean, you're still playing the 5% of people are playing druids. So
that's because they're playing them badly.
Yeah,
I would agree with that. I think druid is an underrated class, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah, it's my favorite.
Yeah, I agree. I play a bard on this show, but in most D&D campaigns, I prefer to play the druid because the druids just rock.
They just have so much going on for them. But
and I'm just the odd one out in this room. I'm not that big of a fan of them. But it's just not my play style.
Why don't you like? I mean, the play style, it plays like okay. So as much as I hate the bards, and I want to say that the bards will take over everything because they do everything everybody else does, minus the druid. They don't have the shape change like druids do, but druids also have their shape change allows them to be rogues, to be barbarians. They already have magical spell casting like sorcerers and wizards. They have healings like clerics. So druids can technically do it all, because if you transform into a bear, you're kind of like a mini barbarian. You don't have the same rage effects, but you're very close to it.
Now you're talking specifically a moon druid.
No, well, I mean,
because then
it
you
all
have to wait
depends.
until a higher level to be able to actually be a bear, and at that point the bear is useless if you're not a moon druid.
But it's still a bucket of extra HP.
Yeah, because I mean,
on top of your regular HP, even if you're
that to me is probably been one of the most broken things in the game that I don't know why it's never been addressed. Is why you can shape change, lose all your health, and come back out with the same health that you went into.
Yeah, and that allows a druid to tank even the moon druid does it the best,
right?
But a non moon druid has that ability where he shifts into a squirrel or whatever it is that's got low hit points. I got squirrels on the brain today.
So let me.
But even if it's a low hit point thing, that's 10, 15 hit points it didn't have before that don't count towards his hit point totals until those are gone. So it's like temporary hit points.
Yeah, but then you're stuck to whatever the squirrel can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, like sniff and
all right.
eat.
Right.
So this and granted this list came out in like 2019. It's been hard to find like a new list of stuff, but honestly, I'm very surprised that Warlock has made the Hexblade Warlock is a lot of fun to play, but the Warlock at the Hexblade is played at 13%, followed closely by the Fighter at 12, sorcerer at 10, cleric at 11, sorcerer at 10. Then you have rogues. Everybody else is just like sub 10. Rogues, monks, bards and barbarians at 6%, which is shocking. Like, I don't get why. Like, as popular as everybody loves the bards and everybody's always got the memes about the bards, I'm surprised that only like 6% of people were playing bards that year. This is 2019's post.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. If you look at some of the older surveys and these from these same sources, where the most common class for a lot of D&D has always been the human fighter, and it has to do with the complexity and learning, the learning curve. So when you start getting into the warlock, the wizard, the sorcerers, these take a little more effort to learn. So there is going to be a certain percentage of players who just don't want to deal with that. They just want to hit stuff.
And as much as we like advocate for bards becoming more of a utilitarian like they used to be, that's why it's not as approachable. People see it as that utilitarian, even though they are jacks of all trades, able to do anything within a party at this point in 5e.
I kind of want to say that's on you as the player for not doing like a tad bit of research into what you like before I play anything. Because before I play anything, I always like to sit there and see what all are my options. I usually have a concept in mind, and I kind of work backwards. We talked about this in a previous episode, how we build our characters. So if you don't do your research to understand that the bard can damn near do just anything anybody else does, you would know. Yeah. But like I said, I think that druids get an unreasonable amount of hate, because a couple of these polls that I'm looking through, and I've looked through a couple of these photos, the druids are constantly at the bottom.
And I think part of it is also the image of what a druid and a bard should be. The druid being the tree-hugging hippie, character, in a lot of the popular media and history and that kind of stuff where, they're one with nature character. That typecasting may be what turns some people who, I want to play a grizzly, kill them all, murder hobo.
Which you did.
Which I did as a druid.
As I DM.
I play against those types, but a lot of people, when they take the character class, they're also taking the concept from the popular media and applying that they in order to be a druid, they have to play this tree-hugging hippie, nature lover, vegetarian, which is totally unappealing. They don't realize that, yes, you can play the murder hobo druid. I've done it. You can. But a lot of people, that when they're thinking of their concept, that just doesn't trigger.
Think of PETA.
Yeah.
Like, PETA's
really good bread.
No. I'm thinking of, like, the eco-terrorist group PETA. And if you're a PETA listener, I'm sorry, man, but it's true.
Yeah.
But you guys, that's a tree-hugging hippie right there.
Right.
That's got murderous intent.
The bard also suffers from that same, you're going to be the seduce the dragon, always a little bit flamboyant, kind of entertainer.
I feel like bards bards depends on the person who plays it.
Yeah.
You have to be a social person, in my opinion. You probably need to be a social person to be able to play a bard.
Yeah.
Well,
it depends.
I don't think you need to be a social person to be a bard.
No,
See, there's two different philosophies though when you're using classes. These classes are a toolkit of abilities, and then they're an archetype.
Right.
If you take the bard as a toolkit of abilities, you can come up, the spy bard, the jack of all trades, something that's not the standard
I
bard
can be
from
in
media.
anything I want to be bard.
Exactly.
Bards are pretty much.
But then if you go with the
trophy
archetype style, you're gonna go with the toss a coin to your witcher guy.
Jaskier.
Jaskier, that's it. I'm blanking on his name.
Dandelion for the game players.
Yeah, Dandelion. You're gonna go with that if you're looking at the bard as an archetype rather than as a set of skills. Yeah, and the same is going to be true for a lot of these classes. And some people don't like the archetype. That's a
Yeah, there's a lot of stereotypes when it comes to different classes.
Yeah.
And I feel like playing against those stereotypes have been probably some of my favorite characters.
Right, and I think the monk is a perfect example of this. Is the monk does not work well for its archetype. it works well as a character class, as a bucket of skills, but a lot of the stuff you would think would be a monk would be good with, like for example, the weapon you choose, you don't really want to use a bow staff as a monk. Because you don't want to use a two-handed weapon because you lose things like your flurry of blows and those kind of things unless you take a feat to get the bonus action attack with it.
Yeah, but that's a waste of.
But yeah, you're wasting a feat that way. But the archetype, when you think of a kung fu monk, what weapons do you think of them using? The bow staff, katanas, sais.
I don't think of them as katanas.
Nunchucks.
What's the?
I was
kind of like
listing the Ninja Turtle weapons.
Yeah, I noticed. But I was thinking more like the flail. I was thinking more like the flail and stuff like that, like the one, the ball that you can kick around and stuff. The nunchucks, yeah, I get that. But
there are no nunchucks. There are no sais in D&D, and technically, you can use a short
Kuma.
sword as a.
Aren't there Kuma in the?
Not in the official rules. You can reskin stuff and you can make your own. But the one truly monk weapon that's in there is the bow staff.
Hold
on.
You're telling me we have figured out how to create Hogwarts into freaking goddamn D&D, but we can't figure out how to make Asian weapons? There's a little bit of stereotyping going on here.
Well,
we've embraced European culture.
I mean, an Asian weapon, a dagger and a kunai are pretty much the same thing. You just have to skin them appropriately. It depends on the culture you're from, because we could also go back into medieval times and you could look at like side swords and everything else, or then you could take that same side sword.
The difference between a throwing knife and a throwing star.
Yeah, a difference between a glaive and whatever the hell those ninjas use.
No,
because that long staff with the blade at the end.
Yeah.
You're more likely. You're more likely to hurt yourself with a throwing star than you are with a throwing knife.
And any DM can go, okay, well, a katana's a longsword with a slashing property.
Yeah,
that's.
I'm just saying, how lazy are we really is the fact that we created a whole Harry Potter D&D book, but we can't do like something around like the Asian stuff that everybody knows and likes.
5e has not. Some older editions, they had the card.
They had all that, right?
Yeah, where you had the Asian
guess
adventure.
What you're not playing right now?
Well,
older editions.
See, and that fits into that stereotype, but when I first started playing D&D, when I thought of monks, I thought of the old Catholic pugilist monks that came out and rocked your shit with like.
Let's throw some hands, baby.
Really. Like and
these hands are going to send you straight to God.
They used maces and stuff like that. They were unarmored monks, and they used quickness in order to, do their stuff. They weren't the Crusaders; they were the actual holy men, but they had to know how to fight. So,
but then again, and technically in those times, the paladin was a form of monk.
Yeah.
Technically, they were ordained by the church to be monks.
I don't have a history lesson. I don't have a history book.
My favorite way to play monks is ranged anyway.
Monks?
Give them a bow and let them stand in the back. They deal that D12. Give them the poisoner feat. Yeah.
No, that's all you did was create a rogue.
Right, but
that is exactly what you created was the rogue.
Without sneak attack.
Yeah.
But then when you need to get, it's a medium fighter. You can stand in the medium of the group and move up if you need to.
But everybody can technically do that. So you like I said, you're just taking away what makes the rogue special.
But that goes where if you're using the monk skills in a different way than their archetype. And that would be using it in a different way than their archetype.
I also like going heavily leaning into a stereotype to the point where it's parody. I mean, look at Bolgg.
Well, yeah, that's where Loke the Bard came from.
Yeah. You just lean into it so hard.
All of your ideas came from, all of your characters came from, was just the stereotype.
Yeah. He's a stereotype guy.
Even when I intended not to, I intended to go 90 degrees from the stereotype when I created Loke originally. Still didn't work that way. He wound up the stereotype.
Here's a question for you to get back. Off the topic of like creating weird classes that are another class. Anyways, it's back to like on the most hated classes and stuff. And the one that kind of like skipped by and we really didn't talk about. And I know a lot of people when you go to create one, a lot of people refuse to play that I've met. It's the paladin.
Yeah.
I'm actually currently playing a paladin, and can I say I really enjoyed it up until about what level are we? 8 now? Are we 10 now? I don't remember. I really enjoyed it up to a certain point, and I felt like it dropped off on some bits of it.
I think it's hard to create a paladin because they have to have very even stats because they get spells that require wisdom. They're strength based. They also have to have a very even stat set, which makes them a little bit more complicated to play.
The spells are charisma based in 5. Yeah.
In 5.
Well, that's right. Charisma. That's right. Wisdom. My bad.
Old editions, it was wisdom.
And that tells you how long it's been since I played a paladin. But the thing is now you look at this, and now you have to have, because you also have to be strength, because you're kind of you're an upfront fighter as a paladin. But if you don't have a whole lot of strength, because you need your charisma, okay, but you also need dexterity, because you got to be able to avoid stuff. You can't just like face tank. But guess what? Now you also need constitution, because you got to have health. All right, that's 3 out of 6 of your stats right there. So,
well, and that was always the thing with even the old school paladins, rangers. They were the specialty classes that you needed extra skills on. Like the fighter was, you just needed strength. The paladin, you needed strength and wisdom in the old ones. And now it's strength and charisma.
I feel like there's a word here that we're avoiding, and I think that word is skill cap. I feel like every class has its own skill cap, and I feel like that's why there's a lot of popularity with a human fighter. And then you get into the lower ones, like Druid, I believe, has a higher skill cap. Paladin needs more stats to be okay, and then you have to be able to do that okay. There is a skill cap to different classes, and they make an easy class to where you can just use a certain, this class with this subclass, and that's a good one, and it's an easy skill cap. And then if you start digging into the bigger ones, like Lore Bard, that has a higher skill cap because you have to start looking at other classes.
No, I would say that any of the bards are very low skill cap. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that one out there.
It depends on what you're doing with them.
Yeah, it depends what you're doing. And also there is the multi-class aspect of it. These numbers probably take into account how many of these people are, created this class, but they did it as a dip for 2 or 3 levels with another class as a multi-class.
I've had a lot of thoughts about dips whenever we talk about that. Because I'm sure that we can talk about that a little bit.
And there's certain classes like the Cleric where you're getting a lot of that front-loaded power, that 1-level dip.
1-level dip of Cleric is the only way you can get heavy armor without actually having a heavy armor as a beginning. Yeah. So you can do a wizard, do a 1-level dip into Cleric at any time, and that's the only way you can get heavy armor, because that you have to choose your type of Cleric off the beginning. And there's certain types of Cleric that give you heavy armor immediately because it's part of the class.
It's like
it's not part of the
Forge domain,
Yeah, Forge, Life,
Tempest,
and a couple of other ones. War, I know that one does.
It's really weird that the Life domain is a heavy armored Cleric class.
Because Cure Wounds is a touch spell.
But
that's my justification.
How many of these 11% of Clerics that they're showing on this list are multi-class things that did a dip in Cleric just to get
that's the thing.
Heavy armor and maybe Healing Word to pop their people back up when they fall.
A little bit of backstory before this episode, we were talking about it. We tried actually setting up a post over on our Facebook, Chef Bolgg and the Pirate Captain's Facebook. Go there, give us a like. You get to see free memes. You'll know when new episodes are coming out. All you got to do is just like the page. But we tried setting up a post where we were going to give a poll and let everybody out there listen, but Facebook would not let me do it, and it was annoying. And that was actually going to be something that I thought about throwing in there to the poll was and multi-class down at the bottom, just as its own subsection. I would like to say that I'm just going off the cuff that's saying that the ones that we're looking at right now here on this sheet that's, like I said, 3 years old, I'm just going to say that they are OGs. I'm playing this class all the way through because I'm looking at the class. We're not really diving into the subclasses right now. We're just looking at the class itself. Why is this class hated, and why is it really not that bad? It was the idea behind this episode. And, now we're just sitting here just like shitting on all the classes that we just don't like.
They're all bad.
They are all bad.
And they can all be bad. Yeah, they can be.
Right.
But if you go down the list here, if we do that in alphabetical order, the very first one is going to be Artificer. Where do you think that one ranks?
I think the Artificer actually is like not ranked at all. And on this list, it's not ranked at all. But I would say
the Artificer is not a real class.
It's not. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and agree with that. The Artificer's not. As much as you want it to be, and as much as it seems cool, when you only have one subclass that's worth a damn, and that's really it.
They seem to have abandoned it.
Yeah, they've already pretty much D&D 6th edition has said like, we're not going to go back to this right now.
I looked at the statistics on Reddit, and I was looking at like people's percentages on what they like and dislike and everything else, and all of the percentages I looked at is the Artificer was at like 1%.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
not many people they liked the idea of it, and it was not executed properly.
No.
Yeah, and it's a 13th class. It really should have been a subclass of, say, a wizard or a cleric or somebody.
Yeah. That or a sorcerer. I wouldn't say cleric. I'd say either wizard or sorcerer.
Yeah,
because
it should have been a subclass is the short version instead of being its own separate class, and it just doesn't carry the weight, and it's very setting specific the way that they actually did it.
Yeah, because
so it's not an actual core class to bring in. Like you're not going to bring in the Artificer into Sand and Sandals, type of game.
Right.
The way it's designed. I mean, you could create an Artificer that would work in a Sand and Sandals game, but the one they created is much more of a high steampunky.
Yeah, it's a steampunk thing. So, all right, let's go on. So we already say Artificer is just bad just because it is bad. There's no. Is there any redeeming to the Artificer outside of the Artillerist? Is there any redeeming of it now? If you could redeem that class.
We need more crafting type classes. And if you're in a heavy role play type of campaign rather than a heavy combat type of campaign, the Artificer could be very useful and very. I mean, you said if you're
so why not just create a whole
SimCity instead of an RPG where you're building your economic empire.
So why not create like just a better crafting system instead of creating a crafting class? So there you go.
You've heard my arguments to do that in the past as well.
So Artificer, there's no saving that one.
There was one build I thought that was really a niche kind of thing that I really wanted to try with Artificer, and I never did. Is that I wanted to create a Artificer that gave away all of his stuff. So like they get boons for like +1 weapons, +1 armor. Whatever.
Yeah.
What are those things called? I can't think of the name of them right now.
Infusions.
So I always thought of one that was like here's, and the best way I could see using that was the alchemist one, because you could build different you could build different potions, you could do sorts of things like that. That was the only way that I ever thought I would actually play an Artificer.
A true support Artificer rather than a tank Artificer.
Correct.
Yeah.
Here's your shit. Here's all the stuff you need. I'm going to sit back here and I'm going to watch to see what the hell happens. And if you need a heal, I'll run over there and use one of my spell slots to heal you.
All right, so but that's still not enough. I honestly don't think that's enough to save the class.
Again, I never played it.
Yeah.
I thought about it. I never played it.
All right, so let's move on. We'll go down alphabetical order. Why they're why people consider them to be bad, which I don't think any true class is truly bad except for the damn Bard. But I mean, yeah. Which one of y'all? Which one of y'all did I let talk me into adding that little bit of bardic charisma at the end of the damn intro? That was you little bastard. No. Oh man, let's go.
It was a charm person spell.
You shit person.
I feel like he used his own inspiration to do it.
Oh, I hate all of y'all. Oh, Barbarian. I don't think the Barbarian is hated. I actually think the Barbarian is probably, if I had to, just looking at this list, I would honestly say that this list is somewhere.
The generic Barbarian is very popular. There are certain, if you're not playing the Totem Barbarian, you're a very odd.
You're fighting an uphill battle with it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I will personally go out and say on them. I think Zealot's better.
I think Zealot and I think Berserker are better. I think they're fun.
I feel like if you go further in the game, Zealot's a lot better.
Oh yeah.
At the beginning of the game,
literally
Totem
too
is
angry
the
to
best.
die.
Yeah.
I wish Berserker would give you the feat of like fight, or like the ability to fight with two single-handed weapons while you're raged without having to like burn your, like if you, as long as you are wielding two weapons, you can rage at the same time. And that way you can kind of get like that Nordic dual wielding axe kind of like barbarian. And that's the only thing I would change about Berserker to make it a little bit more fun. I enjoy the Berserker barbarian.
I think that if they,
when you compare the abilities you're getting from these other subtypes to resistance to everything but psychic.
Yeah.
That's a big difference.
We need to fix that, and that's an episode.
You can now get resistance to psychic.
You can also play the Zaladesh or whatever that thing is called, and by erase their resistance to psychic. So there's a way to be resistant to everything by playing a Zaladesh.
Yeah,
Barbarian tome.
I think that's a conversation, is how we fix like some of the damage types, and that's a conversation for another time. Because I'm going to tell you, I think that psychic damage is ridiculous to anything, not coming from us to the enemies and the enemies to us. So. Because I think if you're a strong-minded person, you should be able to have, like, wizards with high intelligence should have at least some kind of resistance to psychic.
That's why you have a saving throw to intelligence in most psychic classes. Most, not all. Some are wisdom.
Yeah,
but most spells are.
Yet again, conversation for another time.
Right.
So
this is why I have ADHD.
The Barbarian. I don't think the barbarian is a hated class. I think the barbarian is actually a very loved class.
Yeah, but it's a very limited class also. You are basically playing the party's tank.
I played one as the DPS, and I have to say that I enjoyed playing a DPS barbarian because there was another tank there. If it wasn't for that, I totally would have done it.
But as a DPS, you're going to be behind the paladin or the rogues.
Paladin,
I think
you're not getting those.
I think we get too much into this idea that the game needs a tank because nowhere in the rules does it say that you need the Holy Trinity. And we've talked about this before in the past too. Mm-hmm. Like nowhere does it say that we have to have the Holy Trinity, a DPS, a healer. But we all of us have played an MMO or a video game of some sort like that, and that's what we try to do because we know that that's optimal. Yeah,
but none of the barbarian skills really lend to them being, say, the face or any of these
intelligence, charisma, dump stats.
Yeah, they're not going to be your wilderness survival.
You make the barbarian the face with the charisma dump stat. It's great.
I would say so. I think I think if you have a negative charisma, you should be better at intimidation.
I could see that.
I will say that I was very excited that they created a sub rule, and I don't remember where this was, and I don't know if this was a home rule with a game I played or if I whatever. There was somebody who did strength as a intimidation.
That seems like a James thing.
And using that, it was really good as long as you're using intimidation, the strength purpose for it. Like I walk into a bar, I take my axe, I slam it into a table, break the table, and I'd be like, and that's my intimidation.
I want to say it was James because I think I did that.
That
with,
sounds like a James thing.
Teresa, my barbarian from back then.
Right.
I grabbed a enemy and ripped him in half and got advantage of my intimidation roll.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
and
barehanded just.
Yeah.
ripped.
So instead of using intimidation as a charisma, I think that there's again home rule ways to be able to make it better.
All right.
Again, we're off topic again.
Yeah. No, we're talking about why the class is good and stuff like that and why it's not.
It fits its niche.
Yeah.
But barbarian also, like we were saying about the human fighter being very popular because it's easy. And barbarian's another one that has got a low learning curve.
It was my first class I ever played. I created a barbarian named Diarrhea because why not? And whenever I made them, it was the very first class I ever made, and it's still one of my favorite nostalgic classes that I use, and I really like.
I liked Theo too with your barbarian nerd rage.
So that was fun. Play into the opposites of what you're supposed to do, right? Don't stick to the subclass, or don't stick to the stereotype of it. I had a high intelligence barbarian, and so whenever I went into it, it was very smart guy, and then just my rage was a quiet, nerd rage kind of thing. I don't even want to go to like autistic,
they do not
but like,
wear red shirts in Star Wars.
Right. So it was just that was a really good one, and it was a lot of fun to play.
Oh, all right.
Stay out of the stereotypes, and you'll have a lot more fun.
And barbarians can also, take over for the rogue if there's not one in the party. Just send them in to find the traps. They'll find them. They'll set them off, but they'll find them.
Yeah, and that
Turns
damage
around.
resistance. Just,
Turns around. Why is everybody dead? As they're like suffocating in a gelatinous cube, because he set it off. All right, so to the next class, the cleric.
You missed Bard.
I didn't miss Bard. I knew what I was doing.
Because the bards are the greatest automatically. So.
I hate bards.
Bards have their issues.
I think bards should literally be the most hated class in the game right now because of everything they can do. Plus, they are the most stereotypical class I have ever seen, ever will see, ever been a part of. Every time you see somebody playing a bard, what are they doing? They're trying to seduce it. They do a lot of the same things, and I know you're giving me a dirty look, and you are the biggest goddamn victim of it, Bolgg. I know you. I know what you try to do. You are the biggest victim of it.
Did you were in that game where I played the dad joke bard? Did I try to seduce a thing?
All the moms.
We were
exactly.
okay.
No, but really, you did not. No.
Dravenon's bard.
You don't do it every time. I just said you're one of the biggest. You're one of the biggest guys that I know does it. So
I will tell you that you can use a bard to fill any role, like we talked about before. It is a jack of all trades.
Fill any role, fill any hole. So
that too. We did a magic. What was it? It was a magic school campaign.
Yeah.
And I ended up playing
your Harry Potter campaign.
Yeah, it was a Harry Potter campaign.
I hate all of you.
And when we did that, we were told that we could not. Well, we would have a very hard time choosing a class that was not a full spellcaster. Even half casters were going to be a problem. And so again, the Holy Trinity, you can do a full caster for healing, you can do a full caster for damage, but doing a full caster tank was something that not a whole lot of people thought about. And again, Holy Trinity, you don't need it, but it's useful to have a tank. I created a Bard of
College of Swords.
College of Swords, thank
yep.
you. And with that, I feel like I did a really good job with medium armor, and I was able to play a tank. My AC at some points were 29 because of the way it rolled and everything else.
Yeah,
it was absolutely
when you
ridiculous.
add in the spell stuff.
And then I had
and then the Bardic Inspiration die.
Yeah, and then there was a cleric that was casting Shield of Faith on me and a couple of other things. My AC was absolutely ridiculous. But when I did get hit, I was in a lot of trouble because I had a D8 as a hit die, so it was a problem. But they can fill a role. They do have their niches. Not my favorite class. Actually, my least favorite class.
I would say, everybody else puts them over because they it's the charisma. They're so outgoing and personable. Man, drop them things off the face of the earth. No one wants to play a bard anymore. All right, so then we move on to
one more thing. The sense of the sense of happiness I get from getting an inspiration from somebody else is by far the best reason I like a bard in my party. I like having a bardic inspiration.
I like the way the new bardic inspiration works.
I have not looked into it.
You gotta go listen to last.
I like getting a bardic inspiration. I don't like playing a bard.
I get you.
Short version, the playtest has it as a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So it's a reaction to somebody failing their role.
Oh, so the bard uses their reaction to cast inspiration on them.
Cast inspiration on
As
the person
opposed
who
to
failed their
dice
role.
Is used immediately.
And so you're not giving a bardic inspiration to somebody who then holds it for the 10 minutes and doesn't use it, and it fades away to nothing.
So it's cutting words, but
Yes.
a boost as opposed to a bane. Okay.
All right.
And I'm on the opposite spectrum. Bard's one of my favorite classes.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That
it's
says a lot
not
about you as a person.
It's not for those reasons. It is not. It's because they can be utilitarian. I can shift and mold to whatever the party needs at the moment.
Why don't you just play? Why don't you, instead of shifting and molding and try to be a yes man, why don't you try to be an outgoing individual character? That is done with bards.
That involves,
done with bards right there.
It involves a personality.
Yeah.
And in some points,
So clerics.
I don't have a personality.
Yeah.
Other days I do, other days I don't. Depends
I
on
hate
how I feel.
bards. I hate bards. The 6th edition is actually getting me to like bards again. But anyway, cleric. I don't think I have never met anybody that actually has anything bad to say about the clerics.
I have one problem with a cleric,
What's
and
that?
it's that people think cleric means healer. Outside of that, if you do not label cleric with healer, then cleric is an amazing
my
class.
second
The
ever
legacy.
character that I played in 5e was a war cleric, and I still love her to death.
Yeah. No, clerics are great. I've never.
Clerics used to be, back in 2nd edition, the last person to show up that hadn't picked their class got stuck playing the cleric because they were the worst class.
Really?
In the old editions.
They couldn't do anything.
You were the heal bot. You sat back in the back, hiding, hoping not to get hit. Right. And then you would heal, and then jump back in your hiding spot again.
Right.
They were terrible. And
what did we learn?
the thing most fixed in 5e, I think, is the cleric. The cleric is probably come to the most prominence I think it's ever been in.
It's probably my second favorite class. That we have.
It's one of the, I think, 3 classes that I've identified that you could have an entire party of, and they would not have any issues whatsoever in the game.
Yeah, they're really solid. Like clerics, like I said, when it comes to them, and that's why according to this chart, 11% of people still play them. They're really good.
Yeah. Well, and they're almost necessary to have you. I mean, as much as people don't want to be the healer,
I don't mind being the healer.
You need in most campaigns, you need somebody who's going to heal and bring you back from the brink of death.
You need somebody with healing word.
Yeah,
is what you need.
And if you like playing that support character, they've got the bless and the banes.
And again, you can play against stereotype. You can play the pharmacist, but then when you get angry, you play the harmacist, and you're just going around smacking people. It's like if you're playing Overwatch and you're playing Mercy, and then you're like, you know what? These people don't need my heals. You pull out your gun, and then
you're thinking of playing Diva, and you get knocked out of your mech, and all of a sudden you're murking people with the bunny blaster. But I think that the cleric is by far probably one of the more classes that it's very nice.
And it's also got the advantage of you're getting your subclass at level 1.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I least like about 5e's system, it was a good idea that just doesn't work really well, is the way they've tiered different classes getting their subclasses at different levels, where, you know, cleric gets it at level 1, whereas the monk doesn't get it to level 3, you know, and that disadvantage to the monk versus the cleric, where you're getting it right away. So you are a light cleric from day 1. You are not a cleric who later becomes a light cleric.
So the only thing that I would give to clerics that I think that they need is a bonus action based on proficiency, is like a smaller heal that doesn't involve your spell slots. And that was the only thing that I would say to fix, or a cantrip level heal that only they can learn. Something that just it can be a part of a domain for all I care, or something that just gives them that little bit of edge to push them.
I could see that, a cantrip that's a bonus action that grants proficiency bonus HP.
Yeah,
I could see doing but
make it touched so that
I'm down for touch. It's got to be tough.
Paladins lay on hands, but I couldn't see a cantrip or a non-spell slot.
It's like a deep.
I feel like using a cantrip.
Healing word is already so incredible.
Yeah, but
made
spell
it so hard to kill players already.
But I get that, but this one's, you know, it's like a D4. This isn't something that, and it scales.
Even if it's just 1 hit point, though, the fact that 1 hit point, if you have a way that when your player's down making death saves, that every time you can pop them back up to 1 hit point, that gets them back in the fight. They're out of death saves, and I mean that.
I think it's just something to give them, like something that puts them a little bit, you know, what they do best, a little bit above.
I want to go back to clerics aren't healers; they're support classes.
Yep.
I wouldn't say that. I mean,
there are very few healing spells. I know there's healing spells, but there are a lot less healing spells in D&D 5e than there have been in any of the other editions that I'm aware of. And because of that, there's a lot more, and they have a lot more access to support spells. Bane, Bless, those are by far the 2 best first level spells that they can use. You also have all sorts of other.
Yeah, but those are concentration, and you can only do one at a time, and that's what I'm saying. Like, give them a cantrip, something that they can do, because when you start casting something outside of that, you have to stop what you're doing. The Bane concentration. That's what I'm saying. Make it a cantrip, a nice quick bonus action that only does it's not powerful. It's like your proficiency worth of healing. So that scales out over time, and that's only you're going to get 5. What's the highest proficiency? 5, right?
Celestial Warlock has something like that, and I think that if they would have made a subclass that was like Celestial Warlock for Cleric, it would.
They should never have made Celestial Warlock. It goes against what the Warlock is, but we'll get to that later.
But there's an ability there that gives them a certain pool of hit dice, of dice that you can use to heal.
I know what you're talking about.
Right. And if they gave that to a Cleric, I feel like that would be better than giving him a cantrip.
It wouldn't be bad. Yeah, it's like a party. All right, so we already talked about druids, so we're gonna kind of skip druids. I don't think. We said that they weren't actually bad. Like, though 5% of people play them, they're actually a really good class.
Yeah, even though they're one of the least popular, they're
actually
one of the most powerful, most versatile.
I want to say that they're probably the best spellcaster you can get outside of combat. Because the amount of things that you can do, the travel, they are by far the taxi of any class.
Yeah,
they are the best taxi you can ever get for any class, because they have that turn to miss spell. They have tree stride. They have a whole bunch of others. So they're a really great taxi. As far as that goes, because with wizards you need teleport, which is really high.
They can also be a big workhorse, because they can at a certain point turn into an elephant and just drag shit around.
Yeah.
They're also another one of those, though, that is a victim of their one subclass is so good. You rarely see the other even though the other subclasses aren't bad.
I love Shepherd. Shepherd's
They're
amazing.
not
Shepherd's
bad,
fun.
but the
Shepherd's
moon
the
is
best
just so good. It's hard.
Yeah. I guess you just got to figure
play
out which
one of those
niche
other
is.
ones.
All right, so moving on. Like I said, we already talked about druid, fighter.
Mm-hmm.
I think the fighter,
the basic
bitch of all classes, and it's really not no class in the game outside the Artificer is the only one that we just haven't been able to redeem for any reason whatsoever. The fighter, I think, has it outside of. I don't want to think about the first time player coming in and playing the fighter. I want to think about the guys that have played the game like we have at the level we have to understand why is the fighter hated, or what can we do to redeem it if it is hated.
So the fighter with RP, when you're doing role-playing stuff, that's a lot on the player, because they don't have abilities that go towards RP at all. It's all basically combat. And my most recent fighter I played, Hilly, all that RP was taken care of outside of combat because
it's all your backstory.
Yeah.
I think that you're right with that they need more RP abilities, things that help them out. But I think when most people play fighters, they're thinking of like gladiators and stuff like that. I mean, think about it. The champion is the most picked fighter, then the battle master, and the Eldritch Knight, because the one class, the Knight, I think is what it is.
Eldritch Knight?
No, there's like a Knight. Cavalier, thank you.
Yeah.
So the Cavalier is like probably going to be the least picked one because of the fact that how often do you actually get a horse, which is like 75%, and that actually is your RP. I would say your RP class right there for the fighter. But nobody gets a horse starting off at the beginning of the game, and you're pretty much bunk when you get off the horse.
Right, and
I feel like it should have been a paladin subclass.
With clerics,
Cavalier?
with clerics,
Yeah.
you've got your whatever deity, your faith path you're following. With druids, you've got the nature stuff. With warlocks, you've got your patron. With paladins, you've got your own. I mean, you've got these things that you can base your backstory. Why did your character go into this direction? You've got that seed to help germinate some.
Even the barbarian has like, well, my tribe has me doing this stuff.
Yeah.
The fighter's like, I like to hit things.
And I hit them really hard.
And why are you a better fighter than somebody else who just likes to hit things?
So we're saying
you're not blessed by the god of war.
So are we saying like the fighter actually is a bad class?
I'm saying it's a middle of the road.
I'm saying
class.
it's boring.
Okay, no, it's a thumbs up or thumbs down. There's no in the middle. It's thumbs up or thumbs down. Thumbs up or thumbs down.
I dislike playing basic fighters.
Okay,
an Eldritch Knight or a Rune Knight or one of these
the Rune
other
Knight's really cool.
That's
special subclass ones.
That's why it's middle of the road because
No,
they have not.
you got to give it
No,
that's the idea.
The
I'm
champion
giving it a
fighter.
thumb up.
Okay.
I'm giving
giving
the
it a thumb
champion
up.
fighter a thumbs down.
That's my favorite. I'm gonna take all the hate for that one. By far, champion fighter is my favorite.
Yeah.
Really?
If
Here's
it's a
the
dungeon
thing.
crawl, absolutely.
I
Well,
mean,
if I'm playing a DPS, absolutely.
And that's what the champion's good for. But I think the fighter's actually a good class because it does have. You can RP it, and it's hard. And that just shows you as a skill as a player. So like I said, it's either a thumbs up or a thumbs down overall.
Thumbs down for me for sure.
Thumbs down for you as the fighter?
Yeah, I've never really liked playing fighters, and the only time I ever liked it was playing a champion fighter.
Okay, so if it's a thumbs down, I think the way when we say the one thing to redeem it would be to give it more RP, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it needs a hook in there to.
My favorite fighter I've ever seen was Ron the Farmer.
I miss Andy.
Ron the Farmer
Yeah.
was my favorite, and he had such a weird story that it turned it into good. And it's just because as he was a farmer, his farm burnt away or something. He
outlawed Josie Whale did.
He just followed along with us.
Yeah, it's outlaw Josie Wales essentially.
Yeah. And then he just became, and by the end of the campaign, he became a god because we thought it'd be funny to push him into a
Raise
god.
this farmer.
Yes,
All right. That had no desire for
but
it, yeah.
we forced the RP into it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's awful for any role.
Yeah.
player.
All right, so-
and his whole thing was the RP side and
Yeah.
and the personality of the player who was playing
Yes.
Ron.
Yes.
Yeah.
That wasn't the fighter. That was
the player.
the
Yes.
player. Yeah.
And that's
Again,
why I
thumbs
don't
down.
think it's so easy to thumbs up or thumbs down the class.
I just don't think we need an answer. People are listening to get the answer. What do we
and
think?
My answer
Well-
is down.
Down.
And my answer is
All right, so I'm
RP
up.
down, combat up.
It's overall. So
Overall, middle of the road. I'm
Yep.
not going to get off the soapbox.
pick one now.
Well-
That's the idea. Do you like?
Okay,
is the
what about
class?
exploration? That's a tiebreaker.
The exploration?
Down.
They offer nothing to exploration.
Two downs. One up.
That's a down. There you go. All
I
right.
am going to go out and say that I like it.
Okay. So
mine's
that's
a
okay
thumbs
to
up.
like it. I like it. That's what I'm saying. All right, thumbs up. It's okay to agree with me.
Yeah, you're allowed to be wrong. It's okay.
Don't listen to him. He's wrong about a lot.
I am.
For a lot of the stuff where I would play a fighter type character, I would probably either pick up a paladin who, and shape the paladin to act like you would expect the fighter to be a knight or whatever, or a ranger.
But
Yeah.
see, but fighters are just so comfortable to me that I can just take the fighter and go, well, now I can play a character. I don't have to
That's
worry
fine.
about.
That's fine. And
all the other
you
stuff.
can like the character. Like I said, it's okay to thumbs up it. That's the whole point of this whole episode. Is like, is it really as bad as they say? Do we like it? The monk. I
I love monks.
I love monks too. I think it's a thumbs up.
I think I think the monk gets a lot of hate because it's the archetype versus the skill set. The skill sets are not bad. Monks are good.
They do all the fun stuff that rogues do without feeling like you have to be shoehorned into being like lawful good or lawful evil or something like that.
Part of it also though they're the victim. They don't get their subclass till level 3. They're one of those that for the first 2 levels of monk you're just a basic bitch monk. And then suddenly you become a shadow monk.
Which doesn't make sense to me because I feel like if you come from a monastery, it's the monastery of the hand or the Foot Clan or things like that.
Exactly.
You should already know something about what you're going to be doing.
I mean, if you're in the Foot Clan, you're a Warforged.
Yeah. Well. But you also as a monk, your main thing that the theme is you're going to want to do the unarmed. Punch the guy in the breastplate and the breastplate shatters type monk. Well, you don't get those abilities till level 5 when your hit dice for your unarmed combat has come up enough and your strikes count as magical. You don't have that at level 1 and 2 and those low level.
They have the same problem with the Hexblade Warlock. There's a lot of abilities that need to be flipped and done around with in general. So I'm gonna say monk is a thumbs up for me.
Yeah, I like the monk.
I'm going thumbs down. I'm gonna go the opposite.
I think you're just going opposite of me.
No, here's why. I think that if you play a long-term campaign after level 5 or so, or maybe even level 6 or so, the monk falls tremendously. Sure, they get evasion. Sure, they get all sorts of other stuff. But after you get your extra attack and after you get stunning strike, they're done.
Okay, so how are you going to redeem them?
But they're also striking 4 or 5 times at a D. What is it? 8.
They have a limited resource to be able to hit 4 times, and that limited resource also uses things to dash an extra time, which rogues get for free. They also have to use that limited resource to use stunning strike. They also have to use that limited resource. I think that if you got rid of the either key points or you made less things dependent on key points, it would be better.
Yeah, if Flurry of Blows was just an optional thing that used your reaction.
Yeah, I would go for a reaction. I'm down for putting that one on a reaction. Yeah. So, all right, so that's 3. So the monk isn't 3-1.
Yep.
All right. Okay. We talked about the paladin just for safety's sakes. We've already talked about what we do with that. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
For me, it's a thumbs up, even though I don't play him.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a thumbs up. It's
up.
Thumbs up.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm a thumbs up too. So paladin overall loved. I think and that goes with it.
Yeah, it's the replacement fighter for me.
It's the better fighter.
Yeah.
It truly is. Everything that you want out of the fighter.
In the old editions, paladin was a subclass of fighter.
Okay.
I feel like their auras make them so much better than anything else.
Yeah.
I think that if you're using them for their auras and you're using them as charisma based and that sort of thing, I feel like they are probably one of the best.
I think it's just very hard to.
Their damage dealing capabilities are.
As long as you have enough spell slots.
Yeah.
I think that there's there's just too much to build. Slots. I think it needs something when you start a paladin, it should say all your abilities are based off this stat. Because everything, having to have charisma, strength, and con. I think if you made it a con-based class, I think it would just be it would help it out because it is. You have to have such a varied of stats because you have to have such high strength to wield to wear heavier armor and stuff like that. You also have to have certain things. So that's all I'm saying is I think that
there are mad and sad classes out there.
Yeah, paladins are supposed to be the group leaders, the ones who take charge and are commanding and all that kind of stuff. That's the stereotype type thing, but
I don't even think that's the stereotype. I think
there's
usually
a knight in shining armor. They are the field commanders, the generals.
Yeah. All right. So paladin overall loved. Ranger thumbs down. That's me.
This is another one. In the old editions, Rangers were the most powerful class in 2nd edition. They were the best class in 2nd edition. Everybody played a Ranger, and that's why books like the Forgotten Realms, Dritz books, and all those were written, was because those were the most popular class. Everybody wanted to play the Ranger.
So
back
we're not,
then.
and I get that. So, but we're basing it off current 5e.
Then the original core Ranger was terrible.
I'm sorry, man. That's a thumbs down.
The Gloomstalker is not so bad. The new Tasha's.
When you say it's not so bad, it really means that it is bad. You're trying to justify why you're doing it. It's kind of like, I know cigarettes are bad, but I'm smoking one just because I like the draw. So I'm just saying there's nothing about the Ranger they hurt this class coming into 5e, and they've had many a times to update it and adjust it, and they haven't. And I think
I think they have, and all of the new Rangers after the core ones are decent. It is the 3 that are in the player's handbook are the bad ones.
The Skags the Skag didn't bring anything. I don't think until
Skag. Yeah,
I would say until Xanthar's. Xanthar's. What?
There wasn't a Ranger in Skag.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Well, okay, so Xanthar's I don't even think had a really good one either. So where did the Gloomstalker? Gloomstalker came was just Xanthar's or Tasha's?
That was in Xanthar's.
Xanthar's? Yeah, there's no... You have 2 good classes, the Hunter and the Gloomstalker, because the Beastmaster should be, hey, look, I've got my pet that hangs out with me, we do stuff together. There's nothing that keeps your pet leveling with you.
Well, there is in the new Tasha's pets mechanics.
But there's also
work much
not.
better.
But there's also not a whole lot of interaction. That RP interaction with them.
I disagree.
With your pets?
Yeah, I disagree.
I don't know, man. Like I'd love to have like a gun wielding monkey that just hangs out with me.
You want to hit monkey?
Yeah, I want to hit monkey.
Well, that's the thing with the new Tasha's one. It is a generic stat block that you shape, and okay, yours is a monkey because you pick like mammal, avian, or reptile or something like that.
Can I get like a crocodile that just has a gun on its back?
Yeah, so you pick what you want your animal to be, and it uses the new Ranger rule animal companion.
And see, most DMs know Rangers have their faults, so a lot of them will bend the rules on what the Ranger can take as a beast.
So you're bending the rules for one class that is very heavily beaten down, and not for the other classes that are also like if you're bending the rules of the Ranger, man, you should be freaking putting a cinder block on the damn Bard and telling him to swim.
He said beast for Rangers. There's only one Beastmaster.
Yeah, the all Rangers should. Yeah. I think we talked about this in last episode that all Rangers should get like a small pet, something like, and only the Beastmaster gets the one that gets kind of like.
I think all Rangers should get a form of like a find familiar. Maybe even if it's the find familiar light, where they don't, where they're not a spirit, they're if that one dies, you have to go make a new animal friend.
I would say that would be the one way to get me to give the thumbs up to the Ranger. If the Rangers had that one ability, that would give me the thumbs up to the Ranger.
What was it? Replace the Beastmaster with like a conjurer who just calls animals to him to fight.
So Druid Shepherd.
Basically, yeah. But with ranged capabilities.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying.
The way I look at this is the same what we were just going through with the fighter. I say RP is up. I say exploration is definitely up.
Yeah, it's the
combat stuff that's down.
And
I think it's all down.
Their combat stuff is not that bad, even though. I mean,
well, yet again, there you go. You're saying not that bad.
Right. But two out of the 3 are good. Yeah. And the 1 is not bad, so that's a good overall.
Yeah, he said thumbs up. Yeah, I'm the one that said thumbs down. I was just like, I'm just there's too much wrong with it, and if you don't have Tasha's, then you're kind of stuck playing with the bad ones, and that's something I think is terrible to the class overall. The fact that you are reliant on the other books that you may not have. So that right there is enough to tell me that it's a thumbs down class.
I feel like it depends on the campaign you run. If you're running a campaign that involves survivability, that involves exploration, that involves all of that, I would play 1. If it wasn't that campaign, thumbs down.
And you also have to
thumbs down for me.
You also have to work with the DM more with a Ranger, because if you pick underground as your terrain and this campaign is all in the desert.
I did like the fact that they added.
Screwed.
I did like the fact that they added urban as like one of your terrains. That was much needed because like sometimes you're in the city and it's just like
the bounty hunter is a ranger.
You're almost lost out in the frickin' sauce. Just like, oh yeah, sure, I guess. I think that some of your background should help you add to a domain. Like if you are like a drifter or a nomad or something like that, you should be able to have like the plains and something else, because it's what would say, like, let's say you're a forest guy, you know how to go into the forest because it's part of your nomadic lifestyle. But yet again, like I said, there's too much that they need to do to the Ranger to give me.
There's a lot with the Ranger that needs,
and that's why I guess thumbs down.
Needs DM participation. You need DM participation to make a good Ranger.
Urchin background, monkey familiar, uses 2 swords,
Aladdin.
doesn't wear armor.
Aladdin.
Aladdin's
Yeah.
a ranger.
Yep.
I wouldn't say
Aladdin.
Aladdin's a ranger. Aladdin's a
No, Aladdin's a ranger.
Yeah.
yeah. Now you got me there. I can't argue that out of that one. I was gonna say he was either a fighter, but no.
Aladdin. Yeah.
All right. Rogues. Rogues. Hands up. Give me a
thumbs up.
Thumbs
Yeah.
up. I don't think anybody has.
The problem with rogues is everybody plays them as a fucking edgelord. We don't need that.
Yeah, you need more swashbucklers and thieves, and not so many goddamn assassins.
Yeah.
And
My
you need-
least favorite class, which is by the way,
thief,
when I
the
did
best
research,
thief is the one you don't know is a thief.
Mm-hmm.
when I did my research, assassin was like everybody's favorite.
Into the mic.
Oh, okay. Anyhow, so assassin was everybody's favorite subclass when I did all of my research, and it's my least favorite. Outside of that, I agree with you. The thief you don't know is a thief is the best. Best thief.
Yeah.
I love the mastermind was fun.
I like the
Super fun to
swashbuckler. I just think it's a fun idea because it's it's not because of my roguish ability, the fact that I took on an entire pirate ship and walked away with nothing but good looks alone. But I enjoy the rogue. I think it's got a lot of great classes that you can either be the frontline guy up there doing some major deeps, or you can kind of like be in the back and kind of like controlling things from the shadows with the mastermind. There are too many. Like the rogue is overall a well-designed class.
Or running up on a horse and then shooting a guy in the face and running back to the back lines again.
That's pretty good. All right, sorcerer. As much as I don't want to give it to it, it does get a thumbs up from me. I think that the subclasses really, it's kind of like the rogue. It has really well designed subclasses.
I'm not a fan of the sorcerer.
Okay. Why?
I don't think we need another charisma caster.
We don't. I would actually, if I had to say something, I would change that. They would either be wisdom or intel.
I would say they'd be con.
Yeah, a con caster would be cool because then you have a wizard who's not a glass cannon, which would be.
And you don't use spell slots. Use hit points.
Yeah. So you're burning energy. Yeah, that would be actually pretty dope.
So yeah, something like that I could go for. The current, it's wizard light is.
Yeah, they get some like the better feature.
It has such a high skill cap. I think it's the skill cap. I think that if you have somebody who can think their plan through, it's a lot better.
I think it also requires like a smaller party too, because if you have a huge party and you're trying to like twin cast and do a bunch of stuff at the same time, and you have a little bit too many variables in the situation.
Some of the most fun things though about a sorcerer will actually hurt you in the long run. Like if you because you're limited with your number of spells you can know, and so you go thematic. I'm a red dragon sorcerer, and you take every fire spell, every heat resistance, type thing, and you come up against something that's immune to fire, you're screwed.
Yeah,
Yep, 100%.
That's that. But thematically, that's the kind of a sorcerer should be. A sorcerer should be very elementally based, in my opinion.
I think
or
the draconic
very thematic,
or
Can we all agree though the wild magic is just fun to play?
Oh, it's the best sorcerer ever.
Because
with the old school wild magic tables, the ones that could like literally just end the world in a blink of an eye.
Well, and that's the thing. The odds of you're actually going to hit something on those tables every time a wild magic sorcerer has killed at least some party members every time I've ever had one.
I killed myself using it, but I feel like and you were the DM for this one. I feel like the availability of being able to roll on the table is so low now in 5e that it's just not really that fun, because first the DM has to ask you to do it, then you have to roll a 20, and then once you roll that 20 or whatever it is, then you have to roll on the table, right? So it's not you very often don't use it anymore. So when we did it, he was able to give me an extra spell, like I could empower or push myself past my limits, and then I'd have to roll on the table to be able to do it. That's why I rolled so many times, and that's how I blew myself up.
That's how you blew yourself up so early.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I think that's
You would have still blown yourself up eventually, but you may have had enough hit points to survive it by that.
Yeah.
I think that's okay. I like that. I think like if you go off a con base, like you're empowering yourself based off your health. So
I like that idea.
I think that would actually be a fun thing. The sorcerer still has my thumbs up, but I think that would make it like a double thumbs up.
That's something that's missing. They've got a character who's based on every stat but con.
That's because they don't want to make a single character with one stat, because everybody tries to put some sort of points into con because that's their hit points. And if you dump every single point that you can, or you make the whole thing into a con-based thing,
okay, so
then
you make
most people don't.
You
don't
make it
do
wisdom as their secondary, and
Con is
you would have to
primary con with secondary wisdom.
You'd
so
have
that you
to
have
do
a
something.
wisdom. Your wisdom modifier reduces the amount of hit points you take away, something like that, because you would be, you may want to push yourself, but then your subconscious is like, nah, you're not going to kill yourself doing this, bro.
Even if you've given yourself the 20
I'm all
in
mighting
con,
it all the way, bro.
Yeah,
you got to go
even
beyond
giving
plus
yourself
ultra,
the 20
baby.
in con, you're not. I mean, you're still not going to have barbarian.
Yeah, no.
All right,
points.
we got 2 classes left, and we're running out of time. All right.
So wait, did anybody actually come up to a consensus of?
Oh no,
I said up.
it's thumbs up.
Oh, I
I'm
said
sorry,
down.
he's thumbs down. We're thumbs up. What are you?
Sorcerer's down. Yeah.
Down.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's 2-2. All right. I think it's I could see that. I think the issues that you guys have with it are enough to balance it out. Warlock, thumbs up all the way, baby. And nobody's getting goddamn Eldritch. No one's getting Devil Sight for free.
I like the role play and thematic things for the Warlock. A lot of the classes have some issues.
The subclasses have major issues. Outside the original 3, the subclasses have major issues.
You said the Celestial shouldn't be. I think it's absolutely.
I don't think the Celestial should be, because I think the Celestial, that's divine. And when you're thinking of divine, I think you're thinking of
now
cleric.
you're going into the stereotype stuff.
But that's
You are a
But
stereotypical. I want a
See,
demon
if you
I
combine,
want to suck a demon's cock
Cth-
and get power.
because
is you.
Cthulhu's not a demon. Cthulhu's is a otherworld god.
suck
So
a
I would
so-
go so far as
Now
to
we're
say
getting
they
some
should
hentai.
combine the Warlock and the Paladin into one unified class. That if you go on the divine side, you're called a Paladin. You go on the dark side, you're called a Warlock. But the abilities are.
I could see that, and I would definitely, because that would make it, because
that's
it
more
is.
of a pack.
I think the Warlock should be a melee spellcaster. Like, and I agree with that. I would be okay with them merging those classes, because the Celestial, when you think of, even when you don't think, even if you read the description of the Celestial, it talks about divine angels. That is very anti of what the Warlock. Divine. Very rarely do you
Still
get.
giving your soul to a higher power for power.
That would still be a cleric, though.
Nope.
That's the thing. When you're dealing with gods.
And that's why I was saying it's more like the Paladin, where you're making an oath.
Yeah.
You're making this oath to this higher being.
So
you could be giving your soul to an angel of death, and you don't want to do that, but that's how you get your power.
I'm
Okay.
not sure that an angel of death is what you're. If you're giving your soul to the angel of death, you're just dead. They don't need anything from you. They got the one thing that the angel of death is
Except
there
that you
for,
go
as a soul.
around and cause more death.
I don't know. I don't think the celestial should still be there. I think that kind of like feels into the divine, and that's when you're thinking of cleric. And I think the warlock should be anti-divine, and that's okay, because the cleric having the pure opposite of the cleric would honestly be the warlock, and it's somebody that deals with demons and otherworldly gods.
You can also have the dark cleric where you are dealing with dark gods.
I don't think there should be a
Absolutely.
dark cleric.
Clerics of Merkel, clerics of Baal, clerics of Asmodeus, they absolutely exist. It's not based on the deity themselves as much as it is their faith in the deity.
There's a reason that the death cleric was put in the DMG.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the reason why is because it's so abnormal that it should have been a warlock.
Yep, and I
However,
still say that the celestial, your patron is a powerful being from the upper planes. You have bound yourself to an ancient Temperian, Solar Kirin, that word's all blocked out, another entity that resides in the planes of everlasting bliss. When you're a warlock, you are not doing things for bliss. All right,
well, it's just like the Fey Pack warlock, where you're, where you've made an oath to the Summer Queen or the
Winter Queen, but that's
in exchange for power from the Fey realm instead of from.
Yeah, maybe you're
like,
wandering
I
around
understand
without a
wanting to
name
make a healer class for the warlock, but I don't think the celestial is the way to
that's
do
the
it.
thing. I don't think the celestial should be a healer class.
but they have
They
specific.
should
But if
be
you're
specific, like light base.
If you're burning if you're burning things with hellfire, that kind of starts reaching back into what the cleric and the paladin are doing. I'm with you, and I see what you're saying, and I think that you're right. The paladin should,
like a radiant damage warlock
divine sorcerer.
Yeah, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're looking for a divine sorcerer.
That's what they shouldn't have been a healer class. I will
No,
give you
yeah.
that.
They should not have had a resource to heal people with D6s or whatever it is.
Yeah. Like I said, I just don't think it is. But the Warlock does get my thumbs up. Anybody else?
Oh, it's by far my favorite multi-class. Outside of that, thumbs down.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna,
Thumbs down.
this is the 2 out of the 3 are good, so it's got to get a thumbs up from me.
And for me, it's basically 2 out of the 3 are good. So.
Yeah, I'm all right. Warlock, great class, and I guess that's why, according to this, back in the day, 13% of people played it. All right, and now finally, but not least, the Wizard. Wizard gets thumbs up.
Everybody
love
plays
the
the
Wizard.
Warlock because everybody wants a sugar daddy.
I play the. I think that the Warlock. I don't know. Yeah, you got me there. You got me there.
I personally love the Wizard, but they are the hardest to play well in the current edition.
I think that they've been scalped with what they should be able to do. Like the fact that it costs you and does so much to do stuff in your own school still, because you get it's like half off. That's still a crap ton.
The money sink. They are the only one with a money sink in all of the classes, which isn't right.
Bards should have money sinks. If they're going to be learning these songs and dances, they've got to have teachers. They've got to have some way of learning this shit. They've got to have money
if you're
going to
have a money sink mechanic in a single class, it should be something that's in all of the classes.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have different sink, like the barbarian,
give Gear
needs special herbs or teas to enact his rage or whatever.
Give Gear durability so that the fighter has to replace their plate, has to replace their sword, has to get things repaired.
But I think that's on the DM. Yet again, question for another time. But the money thing, I think the blade singing, one of the most crappily designed idea, good idea and concept, crappily well put out, because you get those guys that blade singers can't be touched.
Yeah, well,
and then you're like, AoE spells, bro.
The idea of the Gish, fighter mage combo is a very popular one, and the Eldritch Knight way of doing it versus the blade singer way of doing it,
they're really the same.
The end product the goal is the same. They're just coming at it from different ways.
I actually played a Blade Singer, and I have to say that my least favorite part of it was after a certain level, you stopped fighting, and you started becoming a wizard again.
You just stick with the wizardry.
Because hitting people with a sword after a while just wasn't enough damage.
And there's not enough high level,
That's when you pick up Monk.
No, I think it's when you pick up Rogue.
Well, you pick up Monks. That way you get evasion, and now that AoE damage is
actually pick up Paladin so that you can dump spell slots into your.
Right.
I think being a rogue
as a smite.
I think be a rogue, and then you get the assassin damage and the evasion.
I played it and I didn't like it after a while. It was great at the beginning because I felt like I was doing some damage, and I felt like a Power Ranger.
But you notice
I felt like I was a Power Ranger.
Popular subclass like the Blade Singer, the War Magic.
And the Evoc.
Yeah.
I will always stand an Evoc wizard, but
I love Abjuration, actually.
Yeah.
I think
Abjuration wizards are great,
Yeah, I think Abjurations are the unsung heroes. The Summoner is really cool, too.
Conjuration.
Yeah.
War wizards are cool because they can go fast.
Necromancers are dope.
Necromancers are, there needs to be more of a...
they need low level.
They need death and decay.
They need less.
They need low level, where you're raising small animals at level 1.
Yep.
Oh, that would be cool.
And
yep.
They also need
building up, because the first you don't raise anything until you're level 5, and you're raising zombies and skeletons right away.
Yeah, They're one of those classes that starts with their subclass on level 2 instead of level 1, and I think that would actually be really cool to really put the necromancer over as you get a dead squirrel or something like that follows you around.
Yeah.
But you need a little bit of death and decay on yourself as well.
That's something like necromancers should have to pay full price, because if you're going, trying to find research on this stuff, people are going to look at you funny. So you should be paying full price for this kind of information in the
And I know, I know a lot of DMs that don't
things.
allow. A lot of DMs don't allow their players to play necromancers.
Why though?
Just because the thematic, in their world, all necromancers are evil. Therefore, if you're playing a campaign where you're a hero of the party,
can't a man just raise his family?
I am not one of these DMs, so I'm I'm not the one to ask the why so much because I allow necromancers.
Revivify is necromancy.
Yeah, my god of death and my campaigns are always neutral because death comes to us all.
All right. So wizards, thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs
I like
up.
wizards.
Thumbs
I'm
up.
giving them a thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
All right. So just to recap before we end the episode, I want to go through each one again. Thumbs up, thumbs down. All right. So hey, barbarian, thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
All right. Everybody loves the barbarian. Thumbs down on the bard.
Thumbs up on Bard.
Thumbs down.
Thumbs down. 2-2. Cleric, thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Everybody loves cleric. Druids, thumbs up.
Thumbs
Thumbs
up.
up.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Everybody loves a druid. Fighter,
Down.
Thumbs up.
thumbs up.
I don't remember.
I think yours was down.
It's
down.
thumbs down, but
Thumbs down, so-
it's it
Another
it
split.
just-
Yeah.
Monk,
Yeah.
thumbs up.
Oh, thumbs down.
Monk on the monk.
Yeah.
Okay. Paladin, thumbs. Mine. I'm pretty sure was thumbs down.
Mine was
Mine
thumbs
was up.
Up.
Yeah, thumbs down. Ranger, thumbs down.
Thumbs down.
Up.
Okay. Rogue, thumbs up.
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 Yeah.
I think that was the one that
That was the
That's
first
the
unanimous one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorcerer, thumbs down.
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 Or sorry, mine was thumbs up. I like the
No,
sorcerer.
no, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
mine
me
was
and you
up.
liked it.
Yep.
Thumbs down.
Okay. Warlock, thumbs up.
Thumbs
No.
down.
Mine was up
Mine is just
because it was two of the three.
There's things I
You-
really
there-
like. There's things I really don't
There's
like.
3 categories.
Yeah.
Thumbs up or thumbs down?
That's 2 categories.
Exploration, roleplay,
and
combat.
Thumbs down.
Thumbs down.
Thumbs
Yeah,
down.
I'm
the only
flopping.
one though. I'm the only one. Okay, that's fine. You can flop. And the wizard. Everybody's
thumbs up.
thumbs up. All right.
So wizards and rogues are really the only.
The only unanimous
The
class.
other unanimous class was Artificer at thumbs down.
Oh yeah. we
And
forgot
we-
about how bad they sucked. Alrighty, guys. Hey, man, this has been a fun episode. We appreciate you guys listening to us. Make sure you guys go find us at Bolgg and PC. Bolgg and PC is our Gmail. You can email us with all the questions you have, concerns, mutinies. Don't forget Facebook, Chef Bolgg and the Pirate Captains. YouTube, any of our social media is Chef Bolgg and the Pirate Captains. With that being said, say goodbye, say goodbye, Bolgg.
It threw me off. Damn
I
it.
know. I'm sorry. Say goodbye, Bolgg.
Goodbye, Bolg.
Say goodbye, Loke.
See ya.
Bye, guys.
You've been listening to Chef Bolgg and the Pirate Captain's Recipes for Everything, featuring Loke the Bard. Like, follow, subscribe, and share this podcast. You can also find them on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Just search for Chef Bolgg and the Pirate Captain's Recipes for Everything. Questions, comments, and mutiny requests can be sent to bolgandpc@gmail.com. And as always, happy adventures.